I'm Kent, and I'm recovering alcoholic.
Okay.
My drinking started when I was about 11 or 12, sneaking into Dad's alcohol and stuff. In about seventh grade, we had a friend whose dad would buy us Canadian Mist. That's all he'd buy us, but that's what we drank from then. And when I was 15, I looked 18. That was the drinking age in Oklahoma. I could buy my own beer. And if I couldn't buy it, I could come up with it. I had people that I knew that could buy it for me. And eighth grade is when I started smoking marijuana. Back then in the 80s, it wasn't like what it is now. We'd have 10 or 12% THC, but you'd still get high on it. But that was every weekend. I didn't drink much for school and work because I tried to keep some of my head on my shoulders. Um, at 17, I enlisted in the Marine Corps, and I left for boot camp in September of '85. And by 1987 in Okinawa, I was a full-blown drunk. I had 10 documented blackouts, but I have no idea how many that I don't know about. I've had some bad stories and stuff told about the kind of crap I was doing. So I did my first treatment at the Naval Hospital. It was 6 or 8 weeks, and we celebrated graduating by going to the seawall, get drunk. And they had me on antabuse, which you're supposed to get sick from it, but hell, they gave me a better drunk. No hangovers, nothing, but I don't understand it. And my 4 years active duty, I was drunk all the time. How I kept from getting in trouble, I don't know. But I got several awards for the work I did. I was a heavy equipment mechanic, and I did the 4 years and skirted the Gulf War by 1 month. I got out in August, and the unit I was in went to Saudi Arabia in September. And I went to school. I got an associate's degree in Oklahoma City. And when I got that, I moved up from Oklahoma City up to a place in northwest Oklahoma for my bachelor degree. And that's when I ended up getting married and, kind of trying to do school work and have a, getting married. And we had 2 boys. And the thing about the whole time all this was going on, I wasn't drinking. Oh, let's back up. Back in '90 was my second treatment. Uh, I went to a friend's house. He goes, "Hey, let's get high," and I'm like, "Okay." Well, I didn't know that there was LSD in this joint, and I kind of freaked out pretty bad. Ended up in an emergency room. My mind was blown. Anyway, I went did 8 weeks treatment at the VA in Arkansas, and that took for 5 years. I was sober. I was doing good. Had a sponsor working steps, and then I was clean for 25 years, but I had the drinking attitude, dry drunk. Uh, it wasn't bad, but it wasn't good either. But I had abstained from anything, drugs and alcohol, for 30 years. My kids never saw me drunk growing up. And I think that's what kept me sober too, was I had a good family. I had a good job. I think my life was doing really good. And then I was in the National Guard. I got in the National Guard in '94, 8 years of infantry, and then I went to artillery. but we got activated in 2003. And they were giving us all these shots getting ready to go. And I got really sick. The shots about killed me. Ended up putting me on a VA disability. I hate dealing with the government. I have a lot of anger still towards the state of Oklahoma because I I had to fight them to get, to prove that I was sick. I had to get the senators involved, lawyers involved, and then I was disowned by Oklahoma. And I ended up going to Fort Sill in Lawton, Oklahoma for a while. I had to fight them. I was cornered by a lieutenant colonel and a major, and I was a corporal at the time, and they were telling me what they're going to do to me and do this, and I called their bluff, but I became radioactive to the Army on that base. But I had somebody in my corner at Walter Reed in Washington, D.C., because I filled out a VAERS report. That's a vaccine. Uh, it's when you have a bad reaction to a vaccine. And they got that report. And since I was already active duty, being in a medical hold unit, they got me to Walter Reed, and I spent a year and a half there getting tested. All these things wrong with my body, but they wanted the documentation because I'm one of the ones that survived but was really sick. And they found all this stuff wrong, and I think it helped people behind me. But I was medically discharged in 2007, and I was crazier than a pet coon when I got home. They were messing with my meds, things like that. I ended up with one of my, well, not my first arrest, but one of my worst ones, 2 felonies. Spent a lot of days in the county jail there. Tore up my reputation in town. I had a good reputation. Uh, Finally got it worked out to where they were dropped to misdemeanors, but they were both violence, which was bad. And I didn't, 5 years of probation and a $5,000 fine, but I made monthly payments, got it paid off, and it got expunged from my record. That was the terms that my lawyer got. Anyway, in this time, my wife leaves me with another guy and takes my boys from me to up here to Montana. So in 2009, I got a divorce, and I was still in Oklahoma, and missing my boys terrible. But I was giving her a lot of money for child support and whatever she needed. But she calls me and tells me that, you need to come up here and help me with these guys. Because they run her ragged, but they didn't me. Anyway, I go, yeah, this is a chance to get my family back. But I was kidding myself. I did get back. I got to see my kids. I moved into East Helena. Yeah, my first winter here, I moved up in September, and that November it's 24 below for a month. And then what in the hell am I doing in Montana? But things were coming together. I was starting to build some relationships. I wasn't drinking, but the attitude was really bad. That was one of the worst as far as the anger, the spitefulness, things like that. And we made it through that. We moved to Plains in 2011, and we all lived in the same house, but it was a nightmare. Uh, just bad. But we ended up getting remarried in 2014. I thought, well, if we do this, I'll have a wife again. But that didn't work out. I'm still married, but we're kind of estranged now. We're friends, but not really. I don't know how to explain the relationship, but I'm real good with my kids. And then the drinking started again. I like Captain Morgan, and so we'd go selling every now and then. But I started out in shots. It's medicinal. And the shots went to a cup, the cup went to a glass, and then the bottle was in the freezer to chill, and then it was the bottle. And I was getting drunk. And then one night I'd had a real bad time with my kids. I was working on my truck. It's November, it was cold. I was putting in motor mounts and I couldn't get my kids to help me. And it was pissing me off. And so I got really angry. It was a rage. And I threatened to take both of them out, kick their asses all up and down the property, and I cussed them. I wouldn't have took the cussing. I would have been right in the middle of you when it started, but they sat there and took a cussing from hell from me. And I go, gotta calm down. So I left the house. Went to Polson, drove by the liquor store, and it's on. So I polished off that liter of Morgan. And by 7:30, I had the sheriff's department out in the yard because I'd gotten silly and took my shotgun and shot the ground a couple of times. I was just frustrated. Well, that scared them, rightly so. Mm. And so I got to spend 4 days in the Lake County jail with 3 felonies. And I was getting scared then. It just, everything had caught me. The attitude, the drinking, and there was an intervention I needed, but those got shut down to obstruction misdemeanor. I'm still on a year's probation, unsupervised till February, and then that'll get expunged. I got to write a letter to the sheriff, to the DA, or whatever they call the lady at the county. But it was an intervention, and in all this time, I never belonged nowhere. I didn't belong in high school. Growing up, I was a fat kid, chose last for all the softball games, the volleyball games. I tried swimming, but this is not a swimming physique. I thought I found my place in the Marine Corps, but the drinking and all that just didn't work out. So then I thought, let me get my education, let me get a job. I excelled in school. I made the honor roll, but I didn't fit in. The guard, I didn't fit in. I excelled. I got a lot of awards, but I didn't fit in. And I have been searching for where I fit in. I don't know. The paths I've taken have some been good, a lot of them bad. But in January, I'm living by myself in Ronan. I got kicked out of the house. I couldn't even show up at the house without the sheriff's department there. I forget what it was called, but I couldn't show up without them. Anyway, I forget who it was, but I called somebody at the hall, and I went in. I go, this is my start. And I was taken in, and I started doing AA again. I knew what I needed. I wasn't court ordered. I was not drug courted, but I knew what I needed. And I've been doing that up till now. I have 9 or 10 months clean, sober, good time. Which I really am proud of myself. And then when they did the building here, the hub here in Pablo, I think I found where I belong. Uh, there's a culture, the native culture here has invited me in, and I've embraced it. Uh, the AA and all that's good, but to me, it didn't work. Um, but I'm studying the Red Road to Recovery, and it's different this time. And I've skirted around 5 felonies, 2 wars, and have not been killed yet, or died yet, or killed anybody yet. And I've been searching my whole life for where I belong. And, I think I found something here. Maybe I can help, but I know I'm helping me, which I've tried doing it for everybody else, but I think everybody knows you can't do it for others. It works for a while, but you gotta change this in here, and you gotta change this here. But anyway, sorry, I forget where I'm going with this. I had this kind of talked out in my head. Um, I said I got 10 months good, clean time. The culture, um, the the reservation and the natives here have taken me in, and nobody's ever taken me in like this. Uh, I was invited to a sweat lodge, and I sweat every week. I'm learning the songs. They're hard, but I'm learning them. He's teaching me some words. I have a hard time with words. I forget them because I used to have a really good brain, but it's gone now. But I think I found it. I know I found the home. That's for sure. And I have not had friends since 2005. That's when I was getting sick and I was getting bastardized by everybody because of the way I was acting. And I haven't had friends since 2023. That's when 2024, sorry, it was this year. I got friends now. It's weird because we're all pretty messed up people, but we got that in common. And it's been good. I can call people 24/7. I can show up. I got somebody, which feels really good. And I've been hoping and praying. I'm actually praying again, believe that. But I'm taking the red road, not the religious. Me and religion, that's bad. But it's working for me. And I had a thought last night or yesterday. I did a lot of thinking after that talk at the college that maybe this is your path that you're alive.